The first thing I have to ask you is you're coming from like a super pro production and we're a very independent production.
No.
So tell me, what are the differences? What are we lacking? What do I need to fix?
This is nice. I like this because you're just kind of casual and it's chill. Ours is like, there's like a table, there's headphones. There's like three are like two of our producers and our engineer are just like sitting right here. It can be intimidating.
Yeah.
There's cameras like facing you, but it's also kind of a welcoming place. It's nice, but this has that same welcoming feel to it. I think. Like,
how many cameras do you guys use?
I should know that. 6.
Ooh,
5?
that's a lot. Okay.
5 or 6?
Yeah.
There's 4 of us usually, so it's 1 on each person. Then there's like a wide shot, so I think there's 5. Yeah, 5.
So, okay. First of all, what were you doing before you started working with Conan?
I was at NBC. Are we recording now?
Technically, yes.
Oh my God, that's awesome. No, I was at NBC. So I was a page. Do you know what NBC pages are?
No.
Like Kenneth the Page on 30 Rock. Did you ever watch that show?
No.
So there was the NBC lot in Burbank that they sold not that long ago. They sold the whole lot, but that's where like the Tonight Show with Jay Leno used to be. That's where Days of Our Lives used to shoot. It's where Access Hollywood was, or I think still shoots. And
I've been to the Access Hollywood there.
So that's where I would work. And you get accepted into this program. It's just for college grads. So you have to have your college degree and you have to have had a certain GPA. And then they have it on the East Coast and they have it here. And over here, in both places actually, you wear a suit and just kind of work on different shows. So we helped with like the seating at the Tonight Show, and then we would give tours of the lot to people who were coming into town. And then, but like on the East Coast, I mean, they're working on like the Today Show and SNL. Like it's so much more storied over there. But here, and then you get on assignments in different departments. So I got on assignment in events and operations. So I worked on all the different events that NBC would have, like press conferences and premiere parties, Emmy parties, and I would help with the list and transportation and stuff. So that's what I did before, and I loved it.
What did you major in?
Job. Communications at SC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, at USC.
At USC. So I got my internship through USC, and then the internship got me into the Page program because somebody who I interned with used to be in it.
Okay, so then
it was like beep, beep, beep.
How does that transition happen? How do you start working with Conan O'Brien?
That's a good question. Okay. So I was a big Conan fan. And so when he was coming to LA, I told everybody, I was like, I'm going to work for Conan O'Brien. Like, I don't even know. I like manifested it. And so it was so, looking back on it, I think I had a lot more confidence because I didn't know how hard it is to work on a late night talk show. Like, no one leaves. Everyone, when you work at a late night talk show, if it's a good late night talk show, you stay forever because it's like you work year round, unlike other shows. You shoot the show the same day and it airs the same day. So you have that instant kind of gratification that the work that you're doing is already out there into the world. And it's fun. It's just so much fun. Every day is different and it's like so much creativity around you. So I would tell anybody who would listen, I was like, I want to work on Conan's Tonight Show when he moves out here. And I talked to the HR department at NBC because I was already working there. So I went there and I was just like, what do I have to do to work on this show? And they said, they're going to post jobs in 6 or 7 months. So just start looking. So every day I would check. Every single day I'd be like, when are these jobs being posted up? And then a job got posted, which was just like a PA job. So that's like a production assistant. They like do all the odd jobs around a production. And I was like, I'll do that. I'll just get my foot in the door. I'll do that. And then hopefully it leads to something else. And then
what did you hope it would lead to?
That's a good question. I didn't even know. I just I think I was working at the network and I was like, okay, I think I got everything I can out of this job. So then I was like, I want to work on a production. I want to help make a show. And it could have been a sitcom. It could have been whatever. I just wanted to work on a show. And so I had no idea. I just know I wanted to get there. And then I was like, I'll figure it out once I'm there. And then so I applied to be the PA, and then I got a call from the line producer at the show, who's now is a friend of mine. And she was like, hey, we got your application for the PA job, but we're actually going to have you come in to interview to be Conan's assistant. And I was like, okay. I think because they can't post that Conan's looking for an assistant. Yeah. So they just plucked out resumes from like the stack they got for the PA job. And then they had those people come in to like interview to be Conan's assistant. And then I interviewed and I got it. And that's it.
And you haven't met him yet at this point?
So the first interview was with the line producer. Her name's Sarah. And then the second interview, which was I think a day later, was with Conan. So it started off as a pool about like maybe 10 people. Then there were 4 of us who were in the final sort of running. Mm-hmm. And then the 4 interviews are the ones that he was sitting in on. And he just, I think he was just like getting a feel for everybody. Mm-hmm. And then I found out like a day later. It was very quick.
So he knew, he picked you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it was. I think I made a joke that I think that he responded to that was stupid.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah. He was like, I walked in and it was Conan, it was Sarah, our line producer, and then Tracy, who was our other producer. And he's like, come on in, just be comfortable. This is casual. And I was like, well, then can I just lay down on this couch? And it was so stupid. It was such a stupid joke. But then I think that when I got the call from HR, they were like, yeah, they really liked your couch joke. And I was like, that's it? It's like one joke and all of a sudden I have this job now. I mean, I don't even, it's so interesting. But even now, like when I interview people, there's usually just like one thing and I'm like, oh, okay, this will work.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting. It's so funny because I actually made the same joke in a job interview.
Yeah.
I actually didn't get the job.
It depends.
So I'm glad it worked for you.
If you're like applying to be, an accountant, I don't think they'll appreciate a joke about you just wanting to lay down on a couch. But
for sure.
Yeah, I think it depends.
No, but actually mine was more spiteful because it was a production job and I like really didn't want it to begin with. It was just one of these things where I was like, oh, I'm out of college. I don't know what I want to do. I guess maybe I should, try it for this production job. And it was a how do they call it? Like a 3-layered or three interview kind of job interview.
Like 3 rounds with different people?
My English, yes. Yes, it was with 3 different people. So finally I get to like the senior level. And the other 2 interviews were great. I get to the senior level and he just starts like digging into our generation. And he was like, people your age, they just don't want to work. Are you going to work? Are you going to, and he was such a dick about it. And I was like, no, actually that couch looks really good. I think I'm just going to go lay down. So I made the same joke and he was not impressed with my sense of humor. But
oh my God. I'm so over that whole like your generation.
I know. Like shut up.
Well, it's been for centuries. Like they've been talking about how much the next generation
every generation
just doesn't get it.
Exactly.
And I'm like, you're just, it's not that you don't understand the generation. Like my thing is the moment you say, I don't understand your generation or say something negative about whatever generation is next, that's the moment you become an old person.
Right?
Like, that's my theory.
I know.
That's the moment you become old.
Yeah.
And completely out of touch.
First of all, that. And secondly, generalizations in general, I hate.
Yes.
I really try not to do it. I'm sure I'm guilty of it sometimes myself. But any kind of like really, you could say your whole generation is something, you know? It's just kind of crazy.
It seems it's lazy. I think it's just lazy.
It is lazy. Okay.
They're lazy, not us.
I know. It's true.
Although I think you're probably the next generation below me. But yeah, people, I mean, I'm a millennial. And that's all people said about millennials. We're into our coffee and participation trophies. And we we spend too much on avocado toast. And I'm like, just shut the fuck up. Can I say fuck?
Oh, yeah, okay, of course,
I was like,
all of
just
it.
Shut up. Like, we have our things that we like. It's it's not like you have to talk about it in such a disparaging kind of way. But anyway,
and then there's also, I think, the good side of it too, that I think we like to be more efficient. We don't like to spend time on dumb shit. Like we just, and that's even AI now, it makes certain things so much faster and easier. Like ChatGPT, oh my God. I've only been using it for like the past month and it's made my life so much easier.
Has it? I haven't dabbled yet.
Yeah.
I think I'm scared that I'll like it too much.
Yeah.
And also I'm working on my second book now and people were like, just have ChatGPT help you out. I'm like, no, I can't. I have to write it like old school style, just like sit down and like it can inspire you to write certain things. And I'm like,
it's true.
I cannot do that. I can't do that. I won't do that. But like, I know people who use it for like emails.
Exactly. Writing a book, it's creative. So when it comes to creative stuff, I also I'm like, no, I don't want to use any kind of help. But when it comes to we have to get descriptions for our episodes to put up on Spotify, you feed it the transcript and it gives you a beautiful 5-sentence description for your podcast.
Yeah.
I would have had to spend probably 3, because I'm just, so anal about stuff. I probably would have lost 3 hours a day on something like that.
Yeah.
Trying to get the perfect message out, just scans it, does it for you.
That's nice.
It's great.
I know. I think that at one point it's inevitable. I'm gonna have to turn to it for something.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm just
even travel plans. You're I'm going to Italy. I'm starting in Rome, and then I'm going to be traveling to the Amalfi Coast. What's the best route to take? Fastest? Just gives you everything. It's amazing.
God. Okay.
Anyway.
You sold me on it. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it. I don't know.
Do they do sponsorships? Maybe I can contact them.
Who, ChatGPT?
Yeah.
I don't even know if they have to.
I know, right?
They're so many people are now just using it on such a regular basis.
Totally.
I'm what do we need to advertise for?
Totally.
Everyone's just flocking to us. So I guess, I don't know. Maybe. I have no idea.
Okay, first day on the job with Conan.
Yeah.
How does that go?
So I fly to New York because I get hired while he's still hosting late night. And so they flew me out to New York to train with his assistant that was still working with him, that wasn't moving to LA. Because most of his staff moved to LA with him to work on The Tonight Show out here. So I go there and, I'm it's like the first day of everything. You overthink your outfit. You're I want to look nice, but I don't want to look like I'm trying too hard. I want to look professional and I want to look like I know what I'm doing, but I don't want to look like I'm trying too hard. And so, but it's the first day jitters. You're so nervous about all the people you're going to meet and and I'm still kind of, so the day, let me back up. So the day after I found out that I got the job as Conan's assistant, he wanted to meet me for coffee just to have because we knew we were going to work closely with each other. So we went and met at Pete's Coffee in Brentwood and I go there and I have a notebook and I made him a little booklet of LA. I was I'm really excited that I'm working for this guy. And so I was just hey, I made you this little booklet. I know you're moving to LA. Here's some cool things for you. It had stupid things like the secret menu of In-N-Out, or things for him to places for him to take his kids and stuff. And I made it and I went to Kinko's and I had it bound. I really put in the work.
That's really cute.
I know. I think that version of me was so I want to make him proud of me. Just so eager to get off on the right foot. And then so that was technically the first day. And then we had coffee and it was really nice. We were just kind of talking about our philosophy on what we're looking for out of work, out of our jobs and stuff. And then for the first day as his assistant officially, that's when I was in New York, just kind of training. And it was being in 30 Rock where they film late night and SNL and where they've filmed all these historic television shows, just being in that building with that history was just so cool. And it was, I've trained for a lot of jobs because I've had a lot of jobs since I was 16. And that was by far the most kind of exciting first day for me for anything that I've ever done.
So what was required of you the first day?
Nothing really. It was more just learn, his old assistant was this woman named Lori who had been with him for about 11 years. And so she kind of was just these are the people in his life. This is his, his wife and kids. And this is his, his family in Boston. This is his agent. This is his manager. These are his friends. Like, she was giving me sort of the lowdown on him. And then it was just like a lot of observing, a lot of like going on errands and runs with like his assistant. He had 2 assistants at the time. So his second assistant would be like, we have to go to UPS. So we like walked over to UPS and then shipped something. I mean, it was like, we have to go to his apartment to grab something. And so we would go to his apartment to grab something. And it was just a lot of like being a fly on the wall, just kind of observing. And then I came to LA after that week, and he was still in New York. So the first 3 months that I worked for him, we were on opposite coasts. And so we would talk to each other and check in. And then I, was working on getting his cars shipped out here, changing his like driver's license registration, like getting him from like being a New York resident to being a California resident. So that was like my job in the very beginning.
Were there any major fuck ups where you were like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job?
Not at that point. No, not at that point. I think they like eased me in.
Mm-hmm.
And the show wasn't like, I had nothing to do with late night. So the late night was like wrapping up. I think it ended in like February, and then Conan came out here in March, and then the Tonight Show premiered in, I believe, June. And so, I had nothing to do with production at that point. It was when he came out here where like my job went from like kind of a chill sort of person, kind of on the outskirts of whatever he's doing, to like, I'm his assistant now and I do everything. And I can't say that there were any big fuck ups back then. I know we make a lot of jokes about how bad I was at my job, but
You only wrote a book about it.
No. But in the entire time that I've worked for him, I could only think of one time where I did something that was so bad that it would be considered a major fuck up. And that was after like a week hiatus. I had told 2 of our writers that Conan would do a recording session for a cartoon they were working on. So they booked one of these rooms at Warner Brothers, which is, it's expensive. They hired the engineer, they hired they brought in the director and all these people, and the writers were there. And I just didn't put it in his calendar. And it was really bad. And I remember just that feeling of, I wasn't perfect, but he was always where he was supposed to be when he was supposed to be there. And that was always my job. And that was the one time I didn't do that. And it still stings. And I think I remember just apologizing. I emailed everyone who was involved, and I was like, this is completely my mistake and I feel awful and whatever. And people were really nice about it. But it really, like, even today, like, I think about it and I'm just kind of like, that would just made me feel awful. But,
Yeah, but human error. We all do it.
I know.
Yeah,
it is.
We all do it. Yeah. So then at what point do you feel like your job becomes much more than an assistant?
Like, when do I become like a kind of toe the line to somebody who's like becoming a character, I guess, on the show?
Yeah, and I feel like your title was assistant, but clearly you were much more, and you were a big part of the creative too. So does your ego step in at that time at all and go, hey, I'm not just an assistant, like I'm clearly way more? Or are you just cool with it? You're like,
no, I think I was always very cool with my position. I never wanted to I never planned on being in front of the camera as like a person who's I'm not going to say a character because I'm not playing a character. I never thought of myself as somebody who was going to be on camera. And it's never something I aspired to. It just sort of organically happened. I think probably when our relationship really shifted, where it went from being like more professional to being more of like a friend, or like even a familial kind of thing, like a brother-sister sort of relationship, was when the Tonight Show ended and then we went on a big like 30-city tour. And at that point I had been working for him for like a little over a year, maybe a year and a half. So it still felt kind of fresh. And in that time already so much had happened. But on the tour, I was like by his side all the time. I would like everything that anything he needed, I had to get for him. And then there were times when, you know, we'd be in the hotel bar and it'd be like 1 a.m. and there'd be a bunch of people in there. And then, you know, like he and I would have a lot of heart to hearts. And it was just, it really kind of shifted the dynamic to where I went from being like a typical kind of assistant to being more of like a friend and a presence in his life. And I think that I think that whole, I think the tour really is what did it. I mean, there's a documentary that one of Conan's friends, Rodman, did called Conan O'Brien Can't Stop. And you can kind of see how much more comfortable I'm getting around everybody as the documentary progresses. I mean, it's like going to camp, like going to a summer camp. And at first you're like, what is this? And at the end you're like, oh my God, this camp changed my life. Like, you know, you're writing in everyone's like, whatever yearbooks or whatever mementos there are from camp. Like, I'm going to miss you so much. And then there's this like sense of depression after you get home. You're like, what did we just go through? Like, what was that? Like, I never thought I would ever go on a tour in my life. And then all of a sudden I'm like in a tour bus going to Connecticut. Like, what is that? I don't even know what that was. It's like one of those surreal moments.
So besides the friendship, at this point when your professional career is also evolving with him, are you having a chat with him? Like, is he sitting down and talking to you like, hey, do you feel comfortable kind of becoming more involved and being in front of the camera? Or does it just organically happen and you don't say no? And
it organically happens. We never had to talk about it. We never had to talk. In fact, the very, very first time that I was actually on camera, and I wasn't on camera, it was my voice. Conan was going around installing cable into people's houses, and he went to an Armenian family's house, and he's like, my assistant is Armenian. And so he called me on the phone.
I think I remember.
And asked me to translate, and my Armenian is terrible. And also I speak Western dialect of Armenian, and the people he was with were speaking Eastern dialect, and I did not understand the Eastern dialect at all. Like, I'm married now to a guy who's from Armenia whose family speaks the Eastern dialect, so I understand it a lot more. But like, there's so much like Russian in there. The syntax is different. The structure is different. The words are different. So but I wanted to like do my best to kind of translate, but it did not work out well. It was a mess. It was like embarrassing as an Armenian to like have to do that. And then after that, there were like a few other things. Like, I lost my mug, and I sent out a very kind of aggressive email to everybody on staff about it. And then an hour later, Conan just showed up at my desk with a camera crew and was like, we're going to find your mug. And so he went around interviewing a lot of different people on staff to look for my mug. And then the next day, it had like millions of views on YouTube. And so I think that if that hadn't become as popular as it was, I doubt I would ever be back on the show. But then after that, it was like little things like, oh, my car. They did a whole bit about my car. Or if, you know, I went to go see Magic Mike with my friends and Conan came along. Like, there were just a lot of things that just kind of was like, oh, this might be fun. Like, let's bring Sona into this. And so I never was one to get like nervous on camera. So I think that also helped. Like, I wasn't hamming it up. I'm not like putting on a persona.
But you're also naturally so funny and so charming.
Oh, that's so nice.
No, but really.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm sure that dynamic was just like great chemistry from the start.
Are normally like that, aren't we? We're very just naturally charming. I don't know what to say.
I'm not going to argue with that, am I? No, but seriously, that's so cool. I mean, how does it compare doing the Late Show and doing a podcast? Which do you like doing more yourself?
If I'm like, as a mom, doing the podcast is a lot more fun because I go in, I don't have to prepare anything. I go in, we record, I leave. I don't have to do anything else. Whereas everybody else has to do something. Like, Conan has to prepare for the guests. Matt Gorley, the other guy who's on our podcast, he has to edit the show. And so everything else is happening behind the scenes. But my specific position is to just come in, add whatever I need to add, and then I just leave. And it's, as a mom, to be able to have that kind of, flexibility, like, it's so nice.
Yeah.
You look at work differently. You know what I mean? Like, I loved what I did for so long, but I think that when I had kids, I realized I couldn't prioritize the job as much. Like, I couldn't just go to New York on a whim by myself for like a week. And because now there was this added element that would make me feel really guilty about being away from home for that long. So I wouldn't be able to do the job like I did it before now. But at the time, doing the show was just so much fun. I mean, we did weeks in different cities. That's how I met my husband. We went to Comic-Con and we did a week of shows there. And then I was walking around and I met my husband. And 2 years later, we were married. And it's like, so I got to see a lot. I got to do a lot. I got to experience a lot. I got to meet a lot of really amazing people from the show. But the podcast is fun because I go in, I laugh, I have a good time. I don't have to go in every day. And then I leave and I still get to kind of enjoy working, but also I get to enjoy being a mom at the same time. It's just a different... It's a different set of priorities.
How do production pressures compare? So when you're on network TV, there are obviously like things that you have to think about, ratings and guests and, getting a certain kind of segment with a guest, and it's so competitive. Whereas podcasts, they're still competitive, but there's a little bit more of a natural element to it.
Yeah.
Do you still... I mean, yours is obviously like on a different scale. So do you still have the professional pressures?
That's a good question. I don't know enough about the business aspect of a show versus a podcast. I don't know. I really don't know the business. I know I make more money now on the podcast than I did before on the show as an assistant. But also I think that you're right. There is a certain amount of pressure. I mean, but that pressure, I think, were things that other people felt more than I did. Like our head writers had to get pieces together for the show, like make sure wardrobe was right, make sure the props were right, make sure the script was finished. And then they would do the rehearsal, and then all the tweaks from rehearsal had to be done by a certain time. Like we had to get everything done for the show we were going to shoot by the time we shot, which was 4:30. And so you pretty much just have like a typical work day to put together a completely unique show with different comedy beats, with maybe taped segments, and then also prepare for whatever guest is going to be on, and multiple guests. So like when we were an hour long, we would have 3 guests. We would have our first guest or second guest and either a musical actor or a stand-up. And then we moved to a half hour, and it was different, but it was like also more condensed. And so there was always, it always felt like there was a sense of chaos, but they had also been doing it for so long that it was a well-oiled machine. I think there were a lot of things that there was one time when Kumail Nanjiani, who was our first guest, who was our only guest that day. So it was him and another, actually it was just, oh my God, when we were doing half-hour shows, it was just the one guest. And so he wasn't able to make it because of his production schedule on Silicon Valley. And so they had me step in because there was nothing else that they could do. And so, in that aspect, I remember feeling that I was in the room with Conan and everybody when they were talking about, like, what are we going to do? Who are we going to get? Like, there's a half hour left until the show. We can't ask somebody to drive in and be a guest. We can't push production because there's like a whole audience out there that's waiting for us. And so they had to improvise everything. And it was one of those moments where you could see how confident everybody was in their abilities. Like Conan, I think I can't think of anybody who off the top of his head is as quick as he is. And then our head writer and our executive producer and everybody who was kind of involved in working it out on the fly, like, I think that they had just been doing it for so long that they had so much confidence doing it. But we don't have that issue on the podcast. If someone cancels, we'll just record the next day.
Yeah, but you were such a natural. I watched that episode and I was like, God, like she's totally pulling that off. You didn't look nervous. You were funny.
Oh.
I mean, not everyone would be able to do that. So
Thank
though
you.
you were used to being behind the scenes, but you totally pulled that off.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I think Conan is a lot. Like I think I felt really comfortable with him there. And Andy was there, and Andy's a friend of mine too. So it was just like I felt like I was between two pals.
Yeah.
So I tried not to get in my head about it.
Is there any part of you at that point that's like, wait a minute, I think I like this and I think I want to continue being in front of the camera and this is a cool dynamic? Or are you still thinking, no, I'm just a behind the scenes person?
No, I don't think I think that I would have been perfectly happy if I just was Conan's assistant for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
I think I got to a point where I was like, this makes me happy. I like going into work every day. And that was important for me, is to never be in a place where I'm just like dreading going into work. And so there was never a time working for Conan, and hasn't been a time because I still work for him, where I'm like, oh, I have to go into work tomorrow. It's more like I get to go into work tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Like it's fun. And so like when I rewatched that segment not too long ago, because I don't like to watch it too often, but I remember watching it and I was like, I could tell I was like very fidgety. I was a little like self-conscious about the way I looked and what I was wearing, because I went to work dressed to work. I didn't go to work dressed to be on camera.
That's so funny that you say that, because I was watching you and thinking it's so cool that she doesn't seem self-conscious at all. She seems very confident.
And I think that I think I have the same sort of hangups that a lot of people have about their appearance in general. Like when you see yourself, you're just kind of like, I could have done my hair differently. But there was a point where when I was watching it recently, I realized I like look out into the audience and I'm just kind of like staring into the audience for a bit. And I think that was me just like taking in whatever I was doing. Because I was, sitting on the couch in between, in my opinion, the most sort of iconic late night duo in Conan and Andy ever. In all of TV history, pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, definitely from my generation. And so I wanted to take that in, but I don't think that I left being like, oh, I that just scratched an itch for me and I need to like figure out how to get back on camera. Like I was very like, okay, that was fun, and now I have to go back to work, and I have to go back to my desk, to my like little desk that's messy, and just get back to work and figure out what I'm going to do tomorrow. It was very like, I just snapped out of it very quickly. And I think that's because I don't ever see myself as a entertainer. I don't see myself as a performer. And, I think if there are people that I know who do stand up, there are people I know who act, and for them doing that scratches an itch for them. I don't have that itch. I'm just kind of like, this is fun, but I could take it or leave it. Like if it all just went away, I'd be okay with that.
And now you're on one of the most popular podcasts. So how does that happen?
I don't know.
Your whole thing is like a rolling stone. You're like, I don't know how I'm ending up here nor there, but it's all like amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I first got into it, my whole objective was just to like be in TV, just to work in TV in any way I could. And anybody who works in entertainment knows that like there's jobs we know about, and then there's this whole other world of people who work on a show that you're just kind of like, what do you do? Yeah. And that's so cool that you get to do that. How did you figure out how to do that? And I thought I would find one of those jobs, or I thought maybe like, for a while I thought about like, I feel like I could have been a producer, but then I realized like, that's not my personality type. I'm not like, you are a producer, when you talk about how like you're anal about certain things, you're very specific about what you want. Like, I feel like that's how producers are. I feel like their attention to detail and their need for attention to detail is so strong that it's like it's good in a more of a leadership capacity. I just don't have that. And so I was just like happy not even to sit at the table. I was happy to sit at the kids' table. You know what I mean? Next to where everybody was doing stuff.
Yeah.
I was happy to just like sit there with my chicken nuggets, like watching people being like, what are you guys doing? Can I just sit in the room? It was so much of that. It was just a lot of that. So what was your question, Sona?
How does it even get to that point where you're on the podcast and you're one of the main hosts?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with the dynamic. By the time that happened, I had been working for Conan for, I want to say about like 10 years.
Wow.
And so he and I had a very good idea of our rapport and how we talk to each other and how we like communicate. And it was his idea because he knew he wanted to start a podcast. Like one of the producers on our podcast told him that he should start one. And so he was like, okay, well, I'm going to start a podcast. And he knew he wanted a couple other people with him on there. So he asked me if I would do it. And so we did a test podcast where I don't really think I said much, but there was something about the dynamic there that like he responded to and people responded to. And so I think maybe, I can't remember, they may have tried out a couple other people just to kind of see how he works with other people. But at the end of the day, he wanted me to do it, which was really, really special. It was like a really huge thing for him to ask me to do. And so we did it. And in the very beginning, it was just audio only. So there was no video, pressure. So much less pressure. And now it's like you go in and you have to like make sure you look decent. But again, you don't want to look too nice because you don't want to look like you're trying too hard, but you're also like, because our podcast is just so like casual. Like Matt and Conan are just wearing t-shirts and they don't have any makeup on. And so it's just like towing that line, making sure I look okay. But it's, you know,
were you nervous? Was it challenging or was it just so natural to you by then?
I think by that point I was fine. That kind of stuff doesn't make me nervous. Like you know how this is, like we're talking into a microphone. You have no idea who's listening out there. And so that's how it is. Like I'm in a room. My job is I'm in a room usually with 6 people. So it's Conan and Matt and then our engineer and our 2 producers. And we're in a room together and we're just talking. And you have no idea who's listening. You don't get that gratification that you get or that like instant kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Feedback.
Yeah. You don't get that automatic feedback from an audience. So you're just kind of like, is anybody listening? Like, who's out there? Who's listening to this? Totally. And where are you? Like, who are you people? Like, where are you guys, listening to this from? What are you doing when you're listening to this? And there's something so cool about podcasts when it comes to that, is that you talk, you have this conversation, and then someone out there in the world is just listening to it. And I don't realize how popular it is. I didn't realize how popular it was until I've just lately been getting recognized a lot more. So, like in the very beginning, I would probably get recognized like once a month, maybe once every 2 months. Now it's pretty like every time I go out, especially if I'm in a crowded place, there's someone who comes up and is just like, I love your podcast. And it just means so much to me. I love that they say they love my podcast because I'm like, yeah, it's my podcast. No, I'm kidding. It's like, oh, thank you. It's always so awkward, but it means so much to me. And so it's just such a bizarre transition to go from being this like random person behind the scenes to now I'm on a camera, like, and the things that I say, millions of people are listening to. It's so bizarre, but I love it.
So you said you're not really involved in the business aspect of things, but are there observations where you're just like, okay, I know that this is a part of what makes the podcast so successful, outside of obviously the amazing personalities, but just business wise, are there things that you notice that you're like, okay, definitely couldn't do without?
Well, I think that when it comes to podcasts, I mean, the bread and butter is ads, and there's a lot of podcasts where other people do the ads, but for ours, Conan does them, and he does them in his own voice, which I think is important. It's like a huge part of the business aspect of it. but now we do on camera ads, basically commercials. And then they're integrated into our videos that we show on YouTube. So you'll be watching it and all of a sudden it'll switch to an ad with me and Conan, and then it switches back to our content. So it's like just ingrained in there. I know that when we do, every year we do this series called Conan and the Chill Chums, where it's like just the three of us and we go somewhere. Last year we were at my house. And so this year we're going to go someplace different. And like we do these episodes and then it's always sponsored by someone. So last year it was sponsored by LL Bean. I hope they sponsor us again this year because they're awesome. Yeah. But I got just so much free shit out of it. I like got, a big tote bag. I got a blanket. I got a sweater. I got shoes. Like and I love that part of it. I mean, obviously getting the free shit part out of working on a podcast is I got a mattress. I got diamond jewelry. Oh, I know, from Blue Nile. Like, shout out to Blue Nile. Are those your cameras? Shout out.
Yes.
Big shout out to Blue Nile. They gave me like diamond earrings once and they gave me a diamond bracelet. And it's like their way of giving you their products so that when you do an ad, you could be like, I love this company because they gave me diamonds.
It worked. It worked.
So that aspect of it is like definitely
so cool,
fun and interesting. Like you'll walk into our office and there'll be like random snacks and there'll be like tons of them. And it's like, oh, they're advertising on our podcast, or there's a drink that you haven't seen before. And you're like, oh, they're advertising on our podcast. So like that stuff is like interesting. It's cool. It's not something I ever experienced on the show, but it's cool. Like it's neat.
How big is your team?
That's such a great question for someone who would know it. In my naive way, I think it's small, but it's actually a pretty decent size. And we are part of the SiriusXM family. Like, they own the podcast.
I saw they bought you for like $150 million.
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. And so there's like a team there that helps us with a lot of stuff. But then we also came in with a lot of people who are able to get the video content edited, researchers who research the guests, bookers who book the guests. It's a pretty decent size.
Pretty big production.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's like a pretty big production. There's a lot, like, we have a whole marketing team that works with our social media stuff to promote everything. Yeah. So it's big.
Okay. So
I just don't have a number. And it's interesting because like most people work remotely.
Oh, so you don't even get to see most of them in studio.
Yeah, there's only not a small group, but there's only, especially when we have a big guest like a Harrison Ford who comes on. Yeah. Suddenly everyone's not working
Shows
remote.
Up.
Suddenly everyone's like, I got to be at the office.
Of course.
But there's people that I'll see and I'm like, are you working on the podcast? And they're like, yeah, I've been working on the podcast for, years since it started. And I was like, okay, I'm that person now. I'm the one who has no idea what's going on.
How do you deal with big guests? Do you like to be a part of the interviews? Is it something that was foreign to you in the beginning, or is it just like, cool?
I think that if there's like an opening for us to go in, we'll go in, me and Matt. But mostly it's just Conan driving the interview.
I think you mentioned once that you were a part of the Mila Kunis interview, right?
I was.
I didn't get to watch it, but I heard you talking about it.
So Mila Kunis came on, and she grew up in Ukraine. Yeah. And my husband grew up in Armenia. Uh-huh. And are you from Armenia?
Yeah, I was born there.
Okay, so my husband was there. You're much younger than him, but he was there during the Soviet Union, so he had all these Soviet cartoons that he would watch. Mm-hmm. And so did Mila Kunis, because she was also right. Growing up in Ukraine when it was part of the Soviet Union. So we started talking about these Soviet toys that my husband bought for my kids, like Chiburashka and Crocodile Gena and all these Winnie Pooh and things like that. And she knew all of them.
Of course. Yeah.
Because I feel like every kid from
the Soviet
Union knows those characters. And I think that that was the first time when I thought to myself, I could be friends with Mila Kunis.
Isn't she so lovely?
She is. And
Yeah.
I thought but it's, they'll come in, they'll do the interview and they'll leave and you don't think about it. But there's every once in a while, I was like, I could be friends with this person.
Yeah.
Like we could hang out and have fun and just like talk about things. So that was the first time I think I felt that about somebody where I was like, I could be friends with Mila Kunis. Obviously we didn't like exchange numbers. It's not like we became pals, but I feel like we could be friends if we wanted to, but
I went to middle school with her.
You did?
Yes. So she was already the it girl in middle school because she was doing Barbie commercials and she was on Seventh Heaven. So everyone was like, oh, that's Mila. That's Mila. And she was like insanely beautiful.
Yeah.
She's just always been like perfect. And she was just such a good kid, though. She was a really sweet kid. I was being bullied. And she was a little bit older, and her friends were like a part of the bullying crew. And they were just kind of like, oh, she doesn't know any Russian. And of course, Soviet Union knew a little bit of Russian at the time. And so she started speaking to me in Russian, and she stood up to them for me.
Sweet.
And she was like, yeah, she knows. Like, she was just,
They were picking on you because they thought you didn't know Russian?
Weird 8th graders.
I know.
I was the little one in the crew, and I don't know why they just kind of like decided to pick on me.
Oh,
but yeah,
man.
it was like a really weird thing that they were testing me on. They were testing me on whether or not I spoke Russian, and I was like, I don't, but I do understand a little bit of it.
So this was in West Hollywood?
Yeah, we went to Bancroft Middle School.
Okay, because
And-
there's a lot of Russians that live out there.
Yeah.
Not even Armenians, but just like
Oh my God,
Russians.
there were maybe like 4 or 5 Armenians that I could remember
Oh,
in the
really?
school. Yeah. They were mostly Russian. And yeah, like it had like a cool dance program. It was a performing arts middle school.
Oh, cool.
And so we were in the same dance classes, and we had like dance recitals together
Oh,
and
that's
stuff
so
like that.
fun.
Yeah. So I just remember thinking she was so cool. And then she got, what was the show?
That
70s show. Yeah, she landed that 70s show like right when she was graduating. And then we ran into each other again at the mall at Hot Topic when we were like in high school or something. And she was still just like the same sweet, pretty girl.
Oh, I know. She's very sweet. I think that's a testament to her parents.
I know, right?
And I think 'cause
yeah.
when you start your career at such a young age, it could go, obviously, and it has many times, it could go badly so quickly. And I think it's all the parents. It's however they are.
Totally.
And I can't remember where I've seen it, but I feel like I saw an interview with her parents once, or maybe she did a segment with them, and they're just super normal,
Yeah.
down to earth, decent people. And you could tell why she is such a nice person.
Yeah, and
So-
wasn't her dad like a chemist or something? They're like extremely intelligent and
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think he was a chemist, but something impressive, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think about it all the time. I really don't know how one could stay normal getting that much
know.
attention from such a young age.
I know. And I think that, I also think especially now where you can read about what people are saying about you and such,
At least we didn't have that at the time.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part that just always surprises me, is that there's just, also back then the press can talk about you, which is different.
Yeah.
And people would read what they would say,
Mhm.
but it's not like, Joe from, Grand Rapids, Michigan, writing about, how your thighs are too thick. You don't think about that stuff. And
How do you react to comments? Do you read stuff?
I mostly do not. Every once in a while I see myself just being curious, and if I read one negative thing, I'll be like, okay, nope, not
Done.
doing it. Like, I realized a long time ago, good comments aren't good enough, and bad comments really they don't affect me as much as I thought they would, but they're also like, I get like annoyed by them. And so I realized there just really wasn't much value in reading the comments. But I also think there's like a morbid curiosity people have about like, what are people saying about me? Like, am I generally, and for me, if the majority of people don't like me, then that can jeopardize my job. Then it could be kind of like, well, why do we have Sona if most people don't like her?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure every once in a while that people like me. I don't know how else to say that, but it is something where you're just kind of like, why am I putting an importance on this? Like, I should just do my job, live my life. And if I need to worry about it, someone will come up to me and say, listen, you know, people are kind of annoyed about your existence, about you just existing. But
isn't that
and then I'll just be like, okay, well, we'll see. We'll move on to the next thing. I don't know. I mean, you know,
But isn't it so surreal that you could just be living your life and then you just read misconceptions about you?
Yes.
Like just someone's interpretation of what you're like. And you're like, that's so weird.
It
like
is
has
weird.
nothing to do with myself, but somehow like that's out there and that's the impression that you got.
Well, and
So
it's
weird.
one person's impression, and it's the importance you put onto it too.
Yeah.
That's another thing, is that like, if you never read it, it has no power over you at all. It's just something that's just floating out there in space. You know, I mean, it's something someone wrote, and it's like a tree falling in the forest. Like, no one saw it. So did it even fall? Like,
Yeah.
this is the same with a comment. If someone typed it and no one read it, does it even exist?
Doesn't even exist. Exactly.
And so I think that I look at them that way. But at the same time, you want to make sure that people like you. I think it's like this animalistic thing that we have that goes back to like our very nature as human beings, is you just want people to like you. And now when you put yourself out there on a podcast that a lot of people are listening to, you're like, okay, then I hope a lot of people like me, because if they don't, that can jeopardize my livelihood, you know? And so but I try not to. And I honestly, like, you have kids, I have kids. We don't have time. I don't have time to scroll on a phone and see what Joe from Grand Rapids thinks about me. I don't have time to do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think the first thing that made me really far removed and detached from comments and people's opinions in general was that the first time I saw anything written about me was about a picture that was 10 years old at the time. So I was like maybe 15 years old in that photo, and I was a big fangirl with System of a Down. And so there were photos that I had taken with Darren and Serge and John. I don't think I hadn't met Chavo yet. So somebody had taken those photos out of like somewhere where it was published and shared it in a forum, and oh my God, people went off. They were so mean.
Why?
Like everything from who is that slut to look at that pig face to, oh, she's fat and she's like everything that you can imagine.
Were reading these when you were 25 about your 15-year-old self?
About my 15-year-old self.
Oh my God.
And so it was like a really interesting experience, because at that point you don't identify with that 15-year-old self anymore. It's like a different person. And I also didn't feel like I looked like myself in the photos. Like, they were just really bad photos. And so I was kind of looking at it as like it was someone else. It's someone's child. It's a young kid. And there's just all of this like toxic vomit.
I know.
About that person. And I was like, wow. For me, it said nothing about me or the person in the photo, and said everything about the negative people that were just willing to like type away all of that stuff. After that, it was just in my head that I would never take any kind of negative comment from a stranger seriously.
Good.
So
good. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
It's a very specific kind of person who is looking at a photo of a 15-year-old girl, of a young girl, and then is like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take the time to click comment and then type out a really disparaging, rude comment and then post it.
Right.
Like, I have never commented on anything in my life.
Ever.
And I honestly, I don't know if I know anybody who comments on anything. So I'm like, who are they? Who's doing this?
What kind of people are you?
Yeah, I'd like to think that, I don't know if you ever watched that South Park episode where they do the World of Warcraft.
No.
So there's like the four main guys on South Park, and they get really into the world of the World of Warcraft, which is that game that everybody was playing at one point. And they're just in their basement, and they're all playing, and they're eating, and they're playing, and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then end up meeting this, like, I'm going to say this, the whole scene completely incorrect because I haven't watched this in years, but the main guy in World of Warcraft who has accomplished the most, and he's like this majestic creature in the game, and they cut to who it really is, and he's just this guy who's just like breathing out of his mouth. He's got Cheetos everywhere. He's just like clicking on a mouse, and you're like, that's that guy. Like what he's presenting himself as in this thing is a completely different version of himself. You know what I mean? But like every single person who comments on everything is coming at it with their own insecurities, with their own things going on. So when you say that negativity, it's like, what is it about you that makes you so negative that you feel the need to comment on the video of this like kid, like this 15-year-old kid? And I find it fascinating. I think that I really would one day like to meet somebody who comments on like YouTube videos or like, and is just like, I'm like, what? So what do you do? How do you do it? How much time do you spend commenting?
And when's your next therapy session? Like, seriously.
I know.
I think had I not been 15 in the photo, like had it been a 25-year-old version of me, then maybe I wouldn't have had that like thing that clicked in my head where it was just like, whoa.
Like like if it was about the more recent version of you.
Yeah, maybe I would have taken it more personally, because you know when you feel completely far removed from the person it was, you really look at it like it's about someone else.
Yeah,
and you're
that's
like,
true.
It's a child that you're talking about.
That's the thing that's crazy to me, is that you were 15. It's like, why do you feel so comfortable essentially bullying a young girl? Like,
totally.
And I mean, I don't know if they know that picture is 10 years old, you know?
Oh yeah, they didn't. They thought it was recent because it was like just in a forum, it was posted. So at the time people thought it was recent, and I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is what people can be like.
It's a scary thing to think about too, because you're raising kids in this era, and you're just sort of like, how do I protect them from that? And maybe the answer is you don't. And you have to give them the tools to cope with it and deal with it.
Yeah, but I'm really petrified when it comes to kids and social media. Yeah. Like all of the comments. And then, you know, it's even the things that you get desensitized by. I actually saw this clip about people's standards of beauty changing because of all of the filters, as well as like the plastic surgery where everyone has the same face. Yeah. It's like when you look at, you know, the most beautiful actresses of our time, like when we were growing up, they all looked so different, and it was not like this Barbie look. You know, they all had character. And so now when all of the faces are looking just identical to one another, I don't know if you can totally control if that's what you grow up seeing, like how you get programmed with your standards of beauty, what's acceptable.
That's a good question. I do think though that the standards of beauty change all the time too, don't they? I mean, it's like what is considered beautiful, you know, what was considered beautiful, let's say 100 years ago. You look at it now and you're like, that really? You know, but it's I think that in our lifetime, standards of beauty have changed so much.
Totally.
And they're going to keep changing. Like, who knows? Maybe in 10 years, people will be like, the completely natural look is what's beautiful. Like being completely vulnerable and showing all your wrinkles and showing all the imperfections on your face. That's what is considered beautiful now, you know? So I have no idea. It's like everything is so cyclical, but also at the same time, nothing is... You can't predict anything either, because we're in completely uncharted territory. So
just the part as a mom that gets me now is when you see young girls that you think are so beautiful and they feel like they have to fix parts of themselves. Yes. You know, like they have to get the exact same nose that is like popular on Instagram now, and like the cheeks, and then you see them looking like, you know, today's kind of standard of beauty, but that natural special character that they had, you're like, you shouldn't have gotten rid of that. It's so nice.
It's funny because, like, you know, as an Armenian, a lot of people get nose jobs, and I have a big nose, and so when I was younger, I thought about getting a nose job to like fix it, not to fix it, but to just make it a little smaller. And it's funny because I've never talked about it because it was such a brief kind of thing, and I remember going to my mom and being like, "Can I get a nose job?" And my mom, instead of being like, no, like, don't do that, whatever. She was like, if you really think that that's what you need, like to help your confidence, she's like, we can talk about it, you know, which I loved because I thought like she was responding to the teenage version of me who was very rebellious. So if she said, no, don't get it, I'll be like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get the biggest nose job you've ever seen. It's going to be a completely different person. And but when she said that, I think I panicked because I was like, am I really going to do this? Like, what if they mess up? Like, there were a couple nose jobs that I saw that were not done well. And so I thought, what if I'm one of these people where I don't go to a good doctor and it's not done well? And how about if it changes the entire face? Like, what do I do? Yeah. So I panicked and just didn't do it. And I got really, now looking back on it, I'm happy I didn't do it. But I do think that insecurity that a lot of girls have, like, I had a friend who would not go into a pool without a t-shirt on. Like, she was just so embarrassed of her body. And so she would wear her bathing suit and then she would stand in front of a mirror for what felt like an hour while all of us were like, you're beautiful. Just go out there. Don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. Just go out there. She'd be like, I can't. We're like, you know, you're whatever. The things you do for your friends where you kind of try to talk them up. And she would always just be like, I'm going to put a t-shirt on. Like, I'm not even going to think about it. And I think that it's just different now because they have, what I'm surprised about is how many young kids, like young kids, are wearing full makeup. Yeah. Like, they'll go to Sephora and they'll just buy all this makeup.
And they're like 12.
They're 12.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you know what to do with that? And they're like, we've seen all the tutorials. I'm like, you do better makeup than I do. I don't even know how to do the stuff that you do. I don't even know what products you're getting. And it's just such a fascinating thing. And I hope that comes with some level of confidence. I hope it's not like masking something. I hope that it's helping them feel their best version of themselves. But sometimes I don't think it is. I think it's like more on the negative end of it. We'll see.
I see the positive and negative sides to all of it. Like, I love that there's the option of, like, if you feel insecure about something and you feel like you want to change it, great. You know, it's great that option is there. But if it's about just like one standard of beauty that everybody is following and there's no one from the side to, you know, talk up your friends and say, hey, just, you know, hold on.
Yeah,
it's good.
It is very like almost like a clone mentality, like just a group mentality of what is beautiful, and we're all gonna do it.
Totally.
And I think
iPhones don't help because iPhones just exaggerate everything so much that it makes you feel like you have a problem when you don't. You start seeing things through the lens of an iPhone.
Yes. Do you feel like you're on your phone a lot more than you used to be?
Yeah.
Me too. It's awful.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to like put it away somewhere. And then when I put it away and I don't look at it for a long time, I start to feel a sense of FOMO almost. And I'm like, I think I might just be addicted to my phone a little bit. And that makes me so sad because I don't ever want to be on my phone and my kids are like, Mama.
I know.
And I'm like, hang on. And, you know, I'm like,
that's such big mom guilt because unfortunately, like, it comes with our job too. The emails and, like, you know, talking to the guests and what, like, there's so much of it that you have to be on your phone. Like, my phone is my work. So whenever I'm not working, I can definitely put it away and be okay. But when I'm working, it's just like, ugh, and then your kids see you on your phone.
I know.
Like, it sucks.
I know, but it's good that they see you work, you know, on the flip side, like, I do wonder how these kids, and I'm talking about like the generation now that's growing up seeing everybody on their cell phone all the time, how they're going to grow up and how they're going to perceive people's relationship with their phone. Mm-hmm. You know, like it could be a rejection. There could be this whole thing where they're like, well, I'm not going to do what my parents did. You know, I'm not going to be addicted to my phone. And there could be a lot of studies about how phone addiction is like the same as being addicted to alcohol or being addicted to drugs or something, where it's like giving you this dopamine injection that you need constantly. And so you're just like always on it. And I do wonder when my kids get older, what they're going to think about when they see like a person on their cell phone? Is that just normal?
Yeah.
Is that just going to be something that's normal for them?
Yeah, right? Totally.
I don't know.
Okay, this is another
So
thing
much
that
unknown.
only you would understand. Definitely most of my friends wouldn't relate to me on this. But the fact that, like, you have to talk about stuff in real time and then it's just out there.
Yes.
And we're unfiltered. Like, we're just talking and you don't really get to think about what you're going to say. And sometimes things you say come off wrong.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Yeah, me too. And
Yeah.
then sometimes, like, I speak in Armenian so much at home now that I seriously forget English. And I'm, like, stumbling on my words. And I'm like, how did I forget the most basic words? I grew up here. But we were so scared that our kids wouldn't learn Armenian that we just started, like, speaking Armenian all the time. And now I'm like, I just can't get my words out sometimes.
Yeah.
So, like, do you ever go, oh my God, you have to edit that out? Or do you just suck it up and keep everything in there?
Well, what's funny, it's not so much word fumbling. It's about the things that I say about, like, my family. And, you know, I think there's a lot of jokes I make at my family's expense almost. Like, my husband's really into karate and Conan makes fun of him for it sometimes. But it's like, it's like his workout. It's something that challenges him. It's something that he loves. It's like this ancient, beautiful kind of martial art. And it's, like, important to him. And sometimes I feel bad because Conan made a joke about how he's, like, just chopping in the air or something like that. I'm like, and I started laughing. But also, like, I've talked about intimacy with my husband with, like, a guest that we had on the show, which I was like, oh my God, am I, like, crossing a line? And
What did you say?
Well, because we had somebody who was a sex therapist on, and she just, like, point blank asked me what like my situation is with my husband. And I was very honest. I was like, well, since we had kids, it's like we have to plan certain moments to be with each other and stuff. And so she was, like, talking to me about that. And then after we recorded, I was like, why did I talk about my sex life with my husband? Like, why would I do that? And, but I always go to my husband and I'm always like, look, we talked about this on the show today about, like, this aspect of our marriage. Or I'll be like, I talked about how we said this the other day. Or I'll go to my parents and I'll be like, to my dad, I'll be like, Conan talked about your mustache today. I'll go to my mom and I'll be like, Conan, said something about your accent today. It's like, but I think they all know that kind of comes with the territory.
But has there ever been a time where they weren't cool with it?
I'm trying to remember, and I don't think there was. I don't think there has been. There have been times when I'm like, they're not going to like this. And either they didn't hear it or they didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, whatever I thought would be a bad thing for them to it's they were just kind of like, it's not a big deal.
Whatever.
Like, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I try never to paint them in a bad light. That's really important to me, that they don't come off looking bad. But there's, like, a sense of honesty I have to bring to everything. I have to bring, too, you have to bring so much of yourself to this kind of a job. And so, I'll be walking around and, my house burned down in January. So I'll be with my kids and people will be like, I'm so sorry your house burned down. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. And they're like, is this Mikey and Charlie? Like, they know my kids' names.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre to let so many people into your life, but it also feels good that so many people care about you too, in a way. It's nice that people, like, are worried about you and know about your kids and, like, care about your kids and care about, like, learning about your kids. It's a very unique job in that sense, is that we just, like, bear a lot of it out there. Have you ever cut anything out that you were like, we can't have this in?
Yes. I'm not going to pretend like I haven't. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. I can't remember what, but I know that I have at least a couple of times, especially when, like, if I don't get to elaborate on something as much as I'd like to, and I know that, like, a short version of it is going to not communicate the message the way that I wanted to, then sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'd rather leave it out until I can, like, really talk about it in depth.
Yeah, that's more of, like, an editorial thing, though. It's not like you're censoring yourself or you're worried about it.
No, not censoring.
That makes sense.
Yeah, not censoring. Trying to think about if there's anything that I felt like no. No, it's really just mainly, you already are going to be misunderstood anyway.
Yeah.
But then when you're just like, here it is on a platter,
I
please
know.
misunderstand me, you're like, okay, let me leave that out at least.
There was a story I told about my great grandma, and this haunts me. And it's awful. I mean, this was when I was younger, and my brother and I used to play this joke, this awful, awful game, where we'd hold up two fingers, and it would either be my uncle or my great uncle, who was her son, who had passed away and she hadn't talked to in a long time, or my uncle, who still lived in Istanbul. And so she would like point to one of them, we would say their name, and she would instantly start crying. And we were so fascinated with how she would start crying so quickly that we would play that game. I mean, I call it a game, but it's awful. And I talked about this on the podcast. And after I talked about it, I was like, people are going to think I'm a sociopath. Like, that's a really sick thing to do. And so for a while, I was like, I think we should delete that whole story, I said. And then, we didn't. Like, I eventually got to a point where I was like, look, that's who I was. It's not who I am now. I understand, like, so much more about how human beings work than I did when I did that. It's a stupid thing. Kids are stupid. We do stupid things. That was one of them. I loved my great grandma. She was an amazing human being. And I feel like it's part of showing my evolution as a person. Like it's not like I never did anything that wasn't wrong before, and including making my great grandma cry just for shits and giggles. Like, what an awful thing to do. But I still I don't even know why I told that story. But after I told it, I was like, that just makes me sound like such a terrible person. And then we did, Conan's parents passed away. And then Matt and I did a thing where we just went into the studio and did kind of a compilation of segments from our past shows. And one of them was this story I told about my great grandma. And I'm like, not only was it on the podcast once, it's been on the podcast twice. So in case you didn't hear it the first time, here's another time of how I was a completely horrible person. So that was, I think, one of the few times where after we recorded, I was like, I don't know if that's something I want to let people know about myself. But eventually I was just like, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
I said it. I did it. It's who I was. It's not who I am anymore, but still, like, it's okay that it's out there.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody could understand nuance, then, a lot of things we would definitely leave in. But sometimes when people just kind of take something out of context and decide to categorize whatever you did, and anyway.
Yeah.
Quick break to thank one of the sponsors of today's episode, MX Motor Lounge and Leasing. I've personally used their services for both leasing and buying a car, and they truly made the whole process seamless. If you're in Los Angeles and looking for a friendly, knowledgeable team to help guide you through your next vehicle purchase, look no further than this award-winning local dealership. Visit MX Motorsports for more information. That's EMEXMOTORS.com. The Oscars.
Oh my God.
So Conan did an amazing job. You shared an article by Vulture, I think.
Yes.
That said, where was Sona?
I know.
Where was Sona?
A week before he hosted, because he gets an allotment of tickets.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to ask because I was like, I can't even imagine how many people are asking him for tickets. So I just didn't even ask. But then a week before, his current assistant, David, called me and he's like, we have 2 tickets for you if you want them. And I was like, of course I want them. Like, I want to go to the Oscars. How amazing would that be? So I spent the week leading up to it getting, like, I had nothing because, like I said, my house burned down. So, like, I had no shoes. I had no dress. I had no clutch. I had no earrings. I had no jewelry. I had no, like, real makeup. Like, I didn't have any of that stuff. So I spent the whole week prepping, getting things, and like, buying new versions of stuff. I mean, it was actually like kind of exciting and fun, but also very annoying. But what we were doing it for was fun. And then we get to the Oscars and I don't know where my tickets are. So we're like walking and they're directing us and whatever. And we are in the 4th row in the very center. So I am right behind Emma Stone. I can see Timothée Chalamet and the cast of Wicked. Gayle King is behind me. And after the Quincy Jones tribute, like Oprah goes and sits in the row behind us. And I'm just like, what is this? And one of those moments where you're like, it's not so much imposter syndrome, because imposter syndrome, I think, is when somebody just like earns their right to be somewhere, but they feel like they don't belong there. I didn't earn my way into the Oscars, but I just like got a ticket and got really lucky. So it's more like someone's going to find out they made a mistake and they're going to be like, you guys have to leave. So I did not move. Like right next, it was me, my friend Megan, and my friend Erica. And right next to Erica, Kurt Russell was sitting right next to her, and Goldie Hawn was sitting right next to him. And the whole time I was just like, what is this? But also watching my boss and my friend host this insane award ceremony was definitely one of those like out of body experiences where you just like hover over yourself and you're like, what are you doing here, Sona? Like, just go back to Montebello. Like, that's where you belong. Just go back to the Puente Hills Mall in Hacienda Heights, because that's where you should be. And it was so surreal and so cool, and I'm really glad that we got to experience that. And then a few weeks later, we went to the Kennedy Center for the Mark Twain Prize. So that month of March was just one of those months where it was just like a bunch of very surreal, incredible things that happened that were like things that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. And it's so interesting that it happened a couple months after this insane tragedy. And, this whole year has been like incredibly high highs and really low lows. And I remember I was talking to Conan's wife about it. I was like, I can't believe how insane this year has been. And she's like, I just miss being bored. And I'm like, I do too.
Totally.
I just miss being bored. I miss not having anything going on. And and I feel like the Oscars were definitely parts of that like super high, It's very cool.
But people also were asking about you co-hosting. They wanted you to be a part of it.
Well, it's funny because I think in the Armenian world, and I think in our podcast world, people know who I am. But outside of that, like, nobody really knows. It's not like I'm...
it's only a matter of time.
I don't know. It's not like I'm a famous person. And I think also I wouldn't want to do that. I think first of all, Vulture, the website that wrote that article, I love them so much and I talk about them so much that I think that they mention me because I talk about it, and I will always post whatever article they write about me. But I think that like, I don't think Conan needs help. And I don't think I want to help him.
That's not how we're phrasing it. Not help.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? Oh God.
That would be fun.
Just the like criticism people get. It's like an intense job.
Oh yeah. That, yes. That's comments amplified. But
oh my God. If you didn't read comments before, you definitely don't want to read them that night because it's not fun.
You know what's really cool is I think once you're at that level, the comments, there's so many of them that you just can't read them because there are just way too many.
I wish you could filter by nice comments and just have
I'm
all
sure
those.
ChatGPT will do that too.
Okay.
You could just be like, hey, give me all the
all the nice stuff, all the positive
and delete
feedback.
all of the negative feedback. I don't want to hear any of it. For sure.
Oh my God. I really don't have any idea. This is the moment too where like, when like AOL was introduced and there was a generation of moms and dads who were like, I'm just not even going to learn about that stuff. And like,
we're way past that.
They went completely out of touch, and then it's hard to keep up once you completely miss the boat on something.
Yeah.
That is how I am with ChatGPT. I'm so scared of it that I am completely not working with it at all. And I know sometime in the future, I'm going to call one of my sons and just be like, so how do I turn it on?
Totally.
And they'll be like, just press the on button, Mom. It's just the on button. Okay, I touched the on button. Now, how do I do the AI? And they'll be like, oh, Mom. Like the same way I talked with my mom when I was trying to set up like her email.
I would totally be that person right now if it wasn't for my husband. He's the one that's like, totally there with all the tech stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would be so lost. Seriously. I'm always like late to the game when it comes to stuff. Like I started watching YouTube way later than everyone else did.
Yeah.
I just catch up really late. I
don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I'm a creature of comfort. So I don't know.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
But, it's also so much to keep up with.
I know there's so much. Like now there's threads on Instagram. I'm not even trying to look at what that is. Like I'm seeing it. It's just too many things.
There's threads and then there's Blue Sky. And
wait, what? I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah, that one is very much catered to whatever your interests are, like algorithm based in terms of like if you're interested in like Formula One, it just really just shows you. I don't know. I'm not on it.
Okay.
There's a point where I'm like, I'm not starting any more social media accounts. Like I'm done. I can't keep up with it.
I'm barely keeping up with Instagram. Like that's enough for me.
No, Instagram too. It's just so much. You're like barraged with all this imagery, and you're just kind of like, all right. I mean, I guess I could learn how to like make a quiche. It's a nice fun way to learn how to make a quiche.
Sourdough bread, that's the new thing.
Yes.
Like that's what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but how are you coping with like the loss after the fire?
Oof, it was a lot.
Did you get to save photo albums? Like did you get to save some of the stuff that's important to you?
So I talk about it like I had tiers of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So top tier were like my grandma's stuff, and like my husband had all these like family heirloom stuff and our documents and like gold coins, things like that. Mm-hmm. We took that stuff with us. But like I had a personalized signed Kobe picture that said to Sona and had a signature, and that's gone forever. Same thing for Jimmy Carter. I had this picture of me and Conan with the Carters, and it was like to Sona Movsesian. And so... And like I had this Autopia poster. I had my childhood stuff in a bin in my garage. So a lot of that is gone. But it's, I'm thinking about it purely from like a cultural perspective, as in I'm an Armenian and we've been through a lot. We've been through much, much worse. And there's something in our DNA that just keeps us going and moving along, and like we're very resilient because of it, and it also helps give me perspective, because I lost my stuff, but I have my kids, I have my dog, I have my husband. I love that I said it in that order, by the way. In the order of priority. I have my children, I have my dog, I have my gold coins, I have my grandparents' jewelry, and also I have my husband. I'm totally kidding. But we're safe and we're together, and our kids are young enough where they're not like completely traumatized by it. And so I'm just coping now with not having that stuff, and then not having this home that I like worked really hard for, but also not having this city. Not having this town that I loved so much. And, I think that version of Altadena is just kind of gone forever, which is heartbreaking, because Altadena was such a beautiful, such a wonderful place full of incredible human beings. But, we're rebuilding. Our neighbors are rebuilding. So maybe not right away, but at some point we'll go back to a version of it that, if I can work up the nerve to move back there, we'll move back to a version of it that can remind us of what we had before. But it's just awful. I mean, it was, if you go up there, I don't know if you've ever been up there to just kind of see it. I couldn't unreal.
Do it. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It was so depressing.
Unreal. I mean, I left my house and I didn't go back until the debris was removed. So in my mind, I never saw it burnt. I saw the house was there, and then when I went back, the house was just gone.
Oh my God.
It was like an alien had just taken it. There's just like an empty lot now. But the things that we were able to save, if I had lost that stuff, if I had lost like my grandma's things, if I had lost, like I had this ice bucket that my grandma on my dad's side had. And it's the only thing of hers that I have. And if I had lost that, it would have just haunted me my whole life. But I took that with me. And it's not like a special ice bucket. You know, there's nothing any like that special about it. But it's something that was hers and she had. So I think the things that we took are things that if we had lost them, it would have haunted me forever. But there's like every once in a while, I'll think about like something I love just in flames. And it's such a hard way to like think about that stuff. So I'm working through it, you know, like I do think that there is a point when I'm ready where I have to like go talk to a therapist about like just the trauma of it all. But I'm okay. You know, we found a new place to live. The boys really like it. We're in Pasadena. We're happy. You know, my parents, God bless them, they took us in for like over 4 months. You know, Armenian parents, they're just like, come, we'll give you our house. You know, they were very like, whatever you need, we'll give you the house. We'll move somewhere else so you feel like you have your own space. And it's like, they were really there for us for a really long time. And we really owe them a lot. It was really, it was hard, but we couldn't have gotten through with that family.
How much time did you have to evacuate?
So our area didn't get an evacuation warning until 3 a.m. But we left at 7 the night before. So we saw the fire and there were going to be a lot of winds. And so a friend of mine, her husband, in fact, my friend who interviewed me for my job, ironically, her husband works in the LAFD and he was monitoring it because he works with the wildfires. So he was monitoring and he's like, just tell Sona to leave just to be safe. And so I hear that, I panic. I'm not good under those types of circumstances. That's something I found out about myself. I was like, let's go. We got to go. And I grabbed my kids out of bed, threw them in the car, you know, grabbed whatever laundry baskets I had with unfolded laundry, threw it in the car. And then we left. And that was the last time. Like, I didn't leave thinking my house was going to burn down. I left thinking, you know, it's not a good place to be right now. Maybe the air quality was going to be bad, but I'll come back to my house. And then the next day we found out that it was gone. And it was and the thing is, like, I couldn't allow myself to break down in front of my kids. Like, I wanted them to feel some sense of normalcy. So we went to Orange County and like, we made it seem like we were on vacation, but then I'd go to my car at night and I would just start sobbing. I was just really like, just so sad about the whole thing. But now I can talk about it without breaking down. But if you talked to me like 3 months ago, it would have been totally different. Yeah, it's awful. I don't recommend it. Don't ever let your house burn down.
Oh my God.
That might be my 3rd book. Don't let your house burn down.
It's a good title.
Yeah.
Son, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, we're done?
I mean, I could talk to you for hours. And that's the thing. Like, when we first met, you know, like, there's certain people, maybe it's the name, maybe it's in the name.
Yeah.
But there are certain people where it just clicks and you could talk for hours and, you know, we knew each other for 5 minutes.
I know. This took forever to schedule, but I was like, I want to come and do this. Like, it was something I was looking forward to.
Yeah, no, I was looking forward to it too, because I was like, okay, I could just get to know her even better now. Yeah. And, you know, more laughs. Of course, we didn't leave off on a very funny topic. But
I know. Thanks for having me. This is awesome. Thank you. This was great.
A huge thanks to Torpedo Comics and Essentia Beauty Spa for helping to make this podcast possible. You've probably seen Torpedo Comics in your local malls, but you can also visit them online at torpedocomics.com for an amazing selection of comics and collectibles. As for Essentia Beauty Spa, their beauty experts are truly unparalleled. I trust Diana, the founder, with all of my hair needs. She's simply the best. For more information, visit essentiabeautyspa.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Your support helps this channel grow, allowing us to bring you even more engaging and high-quality content. You can also follow us across all social media platforms.